Yeah. Am I audible now, Said?
Yes.
Hello. I'm
Hi.
audible. Okay. Okay. Fine. Uh, so today I'm Priyanka Banerjee from Kolkata, India, and today I'm your host. And thank you, Said, for organizing this grand event. Uh, we all know that Glory Future Foundation is a voluntary organization that officially it was launched on 1st Jan 2021, working to bring changes in the world. The Glory Future Foundation has been working consistently on children's health awareness, education, it has been organizing picnics with children, uh, it tries, it has its goal to prevent drugs. It wants to create social awareness, and it also has a noble goal that is to bring in positive changes, in all in the mindset of people regarding environment, regarding clean water, tree planting, blood donation, etc. Now, today we have three distinguished guests from different parts of the world. Barbara ma'am, we know each other, and Barbara Ehrentreu ma'am, she is the advisor of Glory Future Foundation. Charlene Phare, I'm meeting you, Charlene, for the first time. She is also an advisor of Glory Future Foundation, and Melissa Begley ma'am, our very, I'm much acquainted with her, the prominent guest today. And today we will be discussing, certain issues related to raising awareness on abuses of women. I mean, there are different kinds of abuses. So first, I would like to ask Barbara ma'am that how do you think, what should be the positive measures regarding this issue?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts about this, but I think the main thing is that nobody really understands how much abuse against women there is. I mean, even in everyday life. It just happened last night. We were in an ice cream store, and there was a couple, and there were me and my daughter. And the couple was taken first. The man and the woman were taken first. We were standing in front of them, and the person behind the counter started on them. And it's like, why? Is this just a tiny drop of how much abuse against women there is? But the other thing is that there has been so much systemic abuse against women throughout the ages that it's almost established in some cultures. And it's very difficult to get some people to see that this is abuse. But I have thought about abuse against women for many, many years. I have known women who have been abused in marriage. I have known women who've been abused in relationships. I have known women who have been raped. I know women who have been attacked. I know women who put up with this stuff, and I know women who have walked away. And sometimes a woman just does not see it. And so it's very important. And men too, men don't realize that they are abusing women when they do certain things. So I think it's very important to raise awareness of this in all cultures. And I know in Indian culture, especially, there is a lot of abuse of women that is not even discussed. And I know as I speak with my Indian friends that this is a common thing. So I'm very happy to know that people are working on this. And I'm so excited to be joining with my friend Melissa, my avatar twin, and my sister, and my new friend Charlene. And I want to meet you, learn more about you, and lovely to see you again, Priyanka. So, thank you.
Ma'am, hello. Yeah.
Yes. Wait, you're muted. You just muted yourself.
I'm audible now. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so let's discuss about some facts and statistics, right? Global statistics on violence against women show that 1 in 3 women worldwide has experienced intimate partner violence in their lifetime. And as per the report of United Nations, 18% of women and aged 15 to 49 years, between 15 to 49 years, who have ever been in a relationship have experienced physical violence by an intimate partner. So I would like to ask you, Barbara ma'am, that even in the world of love, women are not getting spared by even by their intimate partners. So I'm not talking about the world, about outsiders, about strangers, about people who are selling ice creams or college teachers, professors, relatives. So that's a different issue. So even a woman is not safe when she is, you know, uh, having an intimate relationship with her partner. So this is the condition even in 2022. It is happening in India also. Violence is, gradually incidents of violence against women are, increasing day by day. And even during the pandemic, women have filed more complaints against domestic violence. So why these things are happening? Women are getting educated. Both men and women are now getting educated, but in spite of that fact, women are getting sexually harassed, molested, raped, abused every day, every moment. A girl child is growing up with a feeling of fear and anxiety in her heart. Why so much of anarchy even in 2022? Why things are falling apart? I'm quoting from WBH's famous When Things Fall Apart. Why things are falling apart even in 2022? Why are not women safe in any part of the world? Even I must share a personal experience with you, ma'am. I really feel insecure when someone invites me to read out poetry in a distant part of my country. I just ask him, oh, it's not possible for me. My parents will not allow me to stay there alone. See how insecure I am. Your reflections on this issue, please, ma'am.
I unfortunately know that it is very difficult for a man to curtail his feelings of violence when they are upset. I was married almost 49 years to a man who had a very, very, very bad temper. And though he loved me very much, he never actually touched me, but he was very strong in how he spoke to me sometimes. And I think it's that men feel that they need to be on top. They need to be the best. And when they don't feel that they are the best, they will lash out. And even in a relationship where you're in love and you have intimate feelings for each other, it can still happen if the man is thwarted in any way and he doesn't know how to deal with his feelings. There are many immature men who just do not know how to deal with those feelings. They haven't been brought up properly. And it's that, not that they're bad, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. It's that they have not been educated to
Right.
deal with these feelings. They have these feelings, they know they have them. Instead of talking about them and saying, oh, I feel this, I feel that, most men do not do that. They just lash out in many different ways. They will lash out with their voice. They have strong voices. They'll lash out with their voice, or they will lash out with their feelings, or with their hands. And some of them, just the minute they get angry, they punch. I have seen a man punch a wall when he was angry. And I have to say that was pretty frightening. I heard about it. I didn't actually see it. My friend told me that her husband had punched a wall while he was angry. Now, gladly he didn't punch her, but I've heard of women who have been just attacked, especially men who get drunk. I would say a large
Yes.
percentage of
Yes.
men who get drunk will abuse the person that they're with, because when they get drunk, they lose all inhibition. So when a man loses all inhibition, he tends to do whatever he feels like. And when he feels that way, he's going to do it. And so I think a woman has to protect herself. Exactly what you did. Don't go any place with a man by yourself. If you feel that your husband or your loved one is getting angry at you, I used to actually, if I was having an argument with my husband and I thought that he might get violent, although he didn't, but he might, I used to run through a door and keep a door between us, because even though he loved me, I didn't trust him to hold in his feelings at that point, because at a certain point, men just lose all control when they want something. And I mean, this was a loved one that I worried about, and he never really ever attacked me or did anything that would make me feel this. Yet I felt that way. And I know that there are women every day who leave their husband because they are abused, they're battered. And the sad thing is, too many women accept this and go about their business
Yes.
and say to somebody, "Oh, why do you have this bruise on your face?" "Oh, I fell down the stairs. I hit my head on the door." It's like in school when I was a teacher, I'd have kids come in with bruises and they'd say, "Oh, what happened?" "Oh, I fell, I did this, I did that." But when a child comes in with bruises every other day, you're thinking there's abuse. So if a woman has a bruise all the time for some reason, she's not just clumsy, there's something going on. So I think women have to be strong. They have to say what's going on. They have to accept that they may have to leave for a while. And I know somebody who has a ministry who does that, goes in and helps people who are being abused and moves them to a safe place. So I think it's very important. And I'm sorry that it's still happening. And I'm sorry that I think somebody spoke on our event that it was important for the women to teach their boy children how to treat women. And I think that's extremely important. I think that would be one of the things that a woman who has a boy should learn right away. How do you treat a girl? How do you treat a woman? What is the correct behavior for a man on a date? What about if you're in a relationship? How would you handle this if you got angry at your wife? These kinds of questions need to be discussed. So,
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Barbara ma'am, for your introspective discussion on this topic, which is definitely a burning issue right now. Uh, my next question is to,
Welcome.
uh, hello, yeah, am I audible? Yeah. So my next question is to Melissa ma'am. Ma'am, I'd like to ask you one thing, that sexual abuse or violence, these anxieties are very much related to the feeling of trauma. Because whenever such incident occurs in a girl child's life or a woman's life, she definitely passes into a state of trauma. And I have seen it in India as well as in other South Asian countries, that women feel shy to express what they have passed through, what they have experienced. Okay, because often it happens that the society puts blame upon the woman, though
Yes.
they know very well that the woman got molested or raped by one man or several men, but still they are reluctant to accept the fact that this is something that is happening due to the gender inequality, right? So, Melissa ma'am, my question to you is that how these, sexual abuse or incidents of violence which create a split in the psyche of women, a deep split in the psyche of women, and these events which, make them, force them to pass into a state of trauma, intense trauma. So, how we can, if we cannot resist that act of violence, then how can we at least resist, the woman from passing into a state of trauma?
Um,
Perhaps the woman got, yeah, please carry on.
well, it's very unfortunate because abuse against women, a lot of times it starts when they are children. And there has been cases where I worked, was employed in the children's hospital, that sometimes even babies were sexually molested. And the common perception that women deserve being raped or abused has to be ended, because women are raped and abused from the age of babies until they're elderly, and many elderly women, and even in homes where they house children that have challenges mentally and physically, a lot of times those girls, children, are raped and abused as well. One good thing now in the USA, that if a woman or girl presents themselves to the emergency room with any type of suspicious bruises or harm to them physically, it's all automatically reported to a protective service agency, and it does go under investigation. I really do not know how that we can change the mindset unless we change the process that more women have to be placed in roles of the political arena and the judicial system. And also, women need to be supportive of women. I have seen when I was younger, female, where one of the young females around 20 years of age shared that she had been raped. And of course, the other females, instead of being supportive, they thought, they gossiped about her. It's always about the way you look. She was very attractive. Oh, yeah, she deserved it because she was very attractive, and her clothes were a little bit revealing. That is really irrelevant, because how can you say that about a baby, or how can you say that about an elderly woman, that it is their physical appearance? So that mindset has got to end. And it's very unfortunate that when you mention the statistic of 1 out of every 3 women is abused, I'd say that's probably a higher number, because it's a code of silence amongst the women, the trauma that they have encountered, that they never, ever utter a word, even to their very closest friend. And so I'd say it's probably 1 out of 2, or that all women have encountered some aspect of sexual abuse or mental abuse or verbal abuse. Maybe some not quite as, you know, traumatic as others, but I'd say all females have encountered that. And yes, it has to be the mother and the father that has to raise their son to be respected. And also impulse control. You know, I'm sorry, but women are sexual beings as well. We have sexual urges. And you know what? Men don't have anything over on us regarding that. So it has to be impulse control. You have to, you know, if you're making out with a young girl, I'm sorry, but you have to control that situation, just because, it's just wrong to take anything from a woman. It's wrong to abuse a woman, a female, a child. And there is no way to ever justify it. Now, my husband was also, I was married 25 years. 6 days before my 26th wedding anniversary, my husband went to the heavenly abode. But he was a military officer and he had a very strong personality. And I felt very protective. And I'm fortunate because, he never verbally attacked me, but sometimes when he would get a little strong in his conversations, I would just tell him, I'm not one of your soldier boys. Don't talk to me like that. And he would just smile. But, there's a lot of good men, and I don't think that we should bash males, because there are a lot of men that are good, but they have to stand with women in order to make the appropriate changes in our society. Obviously, for centuries and centuries and centuries, women have not been able to fight this battle on their own. And yes, Priyanka, how do you say your name? I'm sorry. But women should not feel unsafe. I live alone now, and I feel unsafe. I live in a very nice community, a very safe community. I should not have to live in fear that some night some man's going to break in and rape me. But women live in fear when they're out in public alone. And there is no way that I probably would be with a male unless I was in a public setting, until I got to know them very well. And even then, you can get to know men very well, and that does not necessarily mean that there's going to be an avoidance of abuse, because sometimes it comes years after a marriage. And a lot of times, I do think that male egos play a role, as Barbara mentioned, and that men like to be successful. They like to be the ones in charge. And if they're not, they're going to find a displaced target. And who is the displaced target? The one that is closest to them. And no, it's not necessarily the stranger that we have to worry about. Who do female children worry about? Babies and toddlers and 6 and 7-year-olds. Their fathers, their stepfathers, their uncles, their brothers, the neighbors. It's rarely the stranger that is abusing the female or the child, even though that does happen. And I just do not understand how you can be so cruel to the one that you allegedly love the most in this world.
Thank you, ma'am. Wonderful. It's a really, really wonderful discussion. I'd like to ask you another question. That is, see, perversion, is an instinctive uh, desire, I must say. That is the desire of a rotten mind, of a rotten self, that is perversion. That when that rotten instinct of the rotten self, you know, uh, controls controls a man's soul, then obviously he forgets about his position in the society or his position in the family, and at that point of time sexual urge, grasp him, and he acts unnaturally. So education definitely is required, and especially, don't you think that a bit of meditation or spiritual training or moral education should be imparted to children so that they can grow up properly with healthy body and healthy mind? Don't you think it, ma'am, that we lack it in our system of education, that moral training, that spiritual training? Don't you think it, ma'am?
Yes, I do, and I'm very pleased that a lot of the Eastern culture and spirituality has come into the American society, even in the healthcare community, and where meditative processes are used, to alleviate pain. So I think that would be a great thing for children to start that process. And men do need to, have that lack of restraint. And the worst thing is that if the gentleman is a pillar of the community, if you're married to a police officer and he abused you, you're definitely not going to win that situation. And usually, many times, because not so much in the American society anymore, but the majority of the time, the man was the breadwinner, and he's the one that held the prestigious position in the community. And so that he was never looked down upon, or would he have ever been suspected of mistreating his wife or his children. And that aspect is changing. And I absolutely agree with you that spiritual training, not necessarily religious training, but spiritual training has to be infused into our soul, because our soul is pure love. And that is what we are
Yes.
made of. We're made of light, of love. And that can be, that love can, we need to bring that out. So that's how we treat everybody in this world. And it's just an ongoing problem. And it really needs to be resolved. And these awareness programs, that at least gets the word out, and the woman's opinion is being expressed. But at the same time, my husband was a good man, and I don't think that we should male bash, because there are a lot of good men. My father was a good man, but you know what? So many of them are, what? They are just nice, not nice people, and I would like to use inappropriate words to describe them, but I will not.
Uh, uh, yeah, as ma'am is a wonderful poet, so the discussion is, sometimes becoming so poetic. Words are becoming so poetic. I love it, just as Barbara ma'am also used poetic words. Actually, ma'am, I would like to say one thing, that as because women are silent, as because women are powerless financially, even in India and in other South Asian countries, as because women, they are voiceless,
Yes.
because they know the fact, they know the reality, but they cannot speak up against anarchy directly due to different reasons. One of the principal reasons is financial reason. Okay, if they are not financially independent, they cannot speak against their in-laws or husband or like that. So this voicelessness and silence and trauma, these aspects of a woman's psyche are getting exploited by men. as because they're physically stronger, as because they're financially in a much better position than women, though some, women are also financially independent, but in most of the cases, as because they are physically stronger, as because they are financially much more independent, they are exploiting women because they know that they will remain silent. They are bound to remain silent because of their kids, because they're thinking, women in most cases think about the interest of their children. If I get separated from this man, though he abuses me every night, though he beats me up every night, though he is a drunkard, but I can't get separated from him because I don't earn money. So what does the government do in such cases? Zero. I am talking about the government's role also, ma'am. Okay, so in most cases, even when women remain silent. In most cases in India, women remain silent. But in some cases, when they are filing complaints against domestic violence, then the government is, taking legal steps against those people. But what about the financial problems? I hope you can understand the fact. The government doesn't, take the financial responsibility of her children. So the problem lies there. And in some of the cases, there are women I know personally who had been exploited because they were financially not independent. Okay, so this is such a horrible situation. First, they were exploited by their husbands or in-laws, and when they got separated from them, then they got exploited by outsiders, by other men who often tempt them. Okay, I will be with you, I will marry you, but instead of marrying her, they just, pass time with them, and then they exploit them sexually and leave them. And then the woman again becomes alone. And the government doesn't take any step regarding this financial issue. So what are your suggestions regarding this matter? How those women who are not financially independent can fight against this abuse, okay, by seeking help from the government? Because I don't know whether Indian government provides any such help to these women. I don't know the exact situation about United States, so please, a few words about it.
Well, in the United States, there are a lot of not-for-profit organizations that will help women and children, leave their husbands, and a lot of times helps facilitate their education and place them in careers and provide shelter and resources until they get on their feet. I really don't think that any government per se really cares about the people, and especially the females, even though that we're probably over 50% of the population, and we vote. And it's unfortunate. And like I stated earlier, I really think that more women in any country, and especially in my own country, should join the political arena and support women. But at the same time, just because a woman states something negative about a man does not always mean that it's the truth. So those things should be investigated appropriately, and we should not hang a man until we actually know the facts, because there has been men in the United States of America that have been placed in prison and spent years because of rape charges. And then because of the onset of DNA testing, they were released, and it was discovered that the female had lied. And I even personally had a member of my husband's family that was accused of raping a child, and there was no circumstantial evidence. And he went on to prison, and he died in prison. And the mother had used the small child, and after he died in prison, I guess mother had a state of consciousness, and she came forward and said that she had lied because so this man was, his whole life was run based upon a woman's lie about a child. And of course, no one's going to look at a child and ever, say that that did not happen. So women have to be truthful to themselves as well. And they cannot manufacture, untruthful things about men, because there's enough out there that we shouldn't have to, because as you state, 1 out of 3 women are abused in some format. So I think women should be true to themselves and that they should be honest beings, because that's part of love as well. But it's only until women get more involved in the political system and the judicial system, leaders of companies, leaders of I can't say the word, not-profit organizations, that things are going to even start resolving. And as Barbara had mentioned earlier, it's cultural in many countries, that this mindset is culturally instilled in the minds of males, so it makes it appropriate. And there are even some countries in the world that having sex with girl children, if you're a political leader, a religious leader, or any man, that it is not deemed as a criminal offense or a moral offense. So I tell you what, ladies, we have a lot of work to do, and spirituality is the best place to start, because that's the soul.
Yeah. Thank you, Melissa ma'am, for your words. We learned a lot from you, and we'll definitely try to implement these thoughts into action. So now, Charlene, I would like to ask you one thing, that uh, violence is, can be categorized. Uh, I mean, there are different categories of violence, like physical, emotional, verbal, economic, and sexual violence. So, I would like to ask you one thing, that what about the psychological uh, psychological violence? I mean, acts of violence done deliberately to ruin a woman psychologically. When it happens, suppose a woman is with her in-laws, nobody is beating her up, nobody is depriving her of food or shelter, but someone is deliberately harassing her psychologically to torment her, to ruin her, perhaps, out of his ego, megalomaniac ego, or for some other reasons. Perhaps he's having an extramarital affair with another woman and he just wants to get rid of his wife, but he cannot do it directly, he cannot do it deliberately. So he is just, going on harassing her psychologically. So that the woman, passes into a state of psychological trauma. So in such cases, how a woman should fight against, these types of abuses, psychological abuse, I must say, to protect her right and to, uh, assert her identity in the society. That is my question to you, Charlene, please.
It's an interesting question, actually, because I myself was raped as a child. I was 11 and it stopped when I was about 15. I also went on to be married to a domestic violence abuser. So as a victim of domestic violence myself, it wasn't just the being hit, it wasn't just the being raped in the marriage, it wasn't just the physical effects on me that was a problem for me. It was more the emotional abuse that I would get. So after I'd been hit, it would be, well, where did that bruise come from? Because I actually kicked you in that leg, or I thumped you on that side of the face, so why have you got a bruise that side? And it would psychologically make me think, well, is it me, or perhaps he didn't hit me then? You really do start to think that you are going insane. Can I just say at this point that I know other, not just women, have suffered abuse like I have. I also have great friends that I've met through poetry, that are men that have had that done against them from strong women that believe that they are strong. And yet I believe that these poor souls I've actually learnt to forgive. I will never forget. You can't forget. It's not a switch in our human nature to be able to do that. But I bear no malice on the boy that abused me. I bear no malice on my ex-husband. I'm now secure in a second marriage. And, so if I can do that, then anybody can do that. My thing was that I wasn't, I had to bring up 2 small children, and I ended up into a refuge. I couldn't leave because of finances, so I got myself into a position where I had to go to a refuge. I had to leave suddenly. I only took the clothes that were on my back, and I took a small nappy box, no bigger than a Pampers nappy box, to put all the children's clothes. I couldn't move with any toys. I had to get out there pretty quick. And so when I got my clothes back, my ex-husband had put them through my cat feces that we'd got a cat between us, and left them in a plastic bag by a switched on radiator. So all of my clothes were not good, to say the least. And of course I was pregnant when I had to leave. So we know about toxoplasmosis, and that can come from cat feces. So I couldn't even wash the clothes to try and get them clean. I had to throw everything out and start again. That was a great drain on my resources financially. And so I had to go to the government, and I had to go to social services with my 2 children and say, look, I'm really, really sorry, but I've failed in this marriage. I believed it was my fault for many years because I couldn't speak out. My family knew that there was something not quite right, but didn't quite put their finger on it. It went on for about 4 years. And they say a woman, statistically, back in 1992, when it happened to me, either had to be hit 24 times before she managed to get out, or 7 years of abuse. Now, I was lucky. I realised in 4 years that either I was going to end up going to prison because I got to the point where I picked up some scissors one night when he fell asleep and hovered them over his heart. And I thought, you know what, if he wakes up, I'm out of here in a cardboard box. I'm not going to survive this. That's the reality. That's what I was facing. My 2 children were just 2 years of age and 3 years of age, sleeping quietly upstairs. And so the next day I decided I had to leave. It was either going to be him killed me or I killed him. And I couldn't let that happen. I had dark thoughts. I thought I was going to take some pills and drink some alcohol and just end it all. And luckily, my little girl, who's younger than my son, at the age of 2, woke up and was screaming for mummy. And so it was because of my children that I pulled myself through. I could be here all day talking about how I got out, why I had to leave, and it became a part of me that I'm proud of, really. You know, so many women can't just get up and escape because their partners, their ex-partners, have a hold over them. My hold over me was that my ex-husband was going to introduce my children to drugs if I left him. So also as a woman, I believe that while he was hitting me, while he was abusing me, then what was to stop him going into a new relationship, again, having to see my children? He took me to court pretty much every week to fight custody of my two children. And so I had a contact order taken out against me for him to see my children. And at one time, he didn't show up. In fact, a few times he didn't show up. And I was that mother that had two small children standing at the dining room window waiting, would their daddy ever show up? And, you know, I would pick up the children, embrace them and tell them that mummy's here for you, mummy loves you, and daddy's probably not feeling very well for whatever reason. I caught a bus one day with both my children, went into town, and their father, it's both their father that hit me, walked past us. And my children shouted out to him, "Dad, Dad," because they hadn't seen him for ages. And the man sat next to me on this bench that I didn't know at all, he didn't know me, said to me I was disgusting because my children were calling a stranger in the street a dad, and what did that make me? And I said, "Excuse me, but actually that is my children's father, and he's just ignored them like he always ignores them." And he said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. What do you do when that happens?" I said, "The same as always. I pick them up, I put them on my lap, and I kiss them, and I tell them that I love them."
I can understand, Charlene. I'm also a mother of two kids, so I understand it completely. And I salute you for your courage, for your boldness, for your strength. I think that motherhood gives us a strength, you know, that is something unconquerable. These men can never, conquer that strength that motherhood provides with us. We can fight against the entire world for our kids, for our children, and our children will ever, cling to their mothers. They will never forsake their mothers, even if the father provides them with better food, better shelter, better opportunities, but they will never, never, never leave their mother. So that happens in UK, that happens in US, that happens in India, that happens in Bangladesh, and that happens everywhere. So we mothers are in a better position than fathers regarding this aspect of life. Okay, so I strongly believe, even I also felt empowered after listening to your words. You were so powerful, you were so strong, and your children are so blessed because they got such a wonderful mom. So I salute you, and you are one woman army. Okay, so
Thank you.
yes, and I don't, I also became very much emotional while listening to your words. But I must say that you turned your tears into fire, and you fought against the entire structure, not only against your man, not only against your ex-husband, but this entire structure of the society that pampers these men so much. Okay, so you fought against it. You didn't remain silent. You didn't tolerate it. And your children are your weapons. Okay, so it is for them, for their interest, for your love for them, for their love for you, that ultimately you got a peaceful and stable and beautiful life. God bless you. Okay,
Thank you.
so yeah, now no more about sexual violence, no more about abuses, no more about trauma, no more about sadness. Let's turn towards the world of poetry because we all are poets. So let's be a bit poetic now. So I would first request Barbara ma'am, our dearest ma'am, beautiful ma'am, sweet ma'am, I love you so much. We all love you. We all love you. We all love Barbara ma'am, Melissa ma'am. I love you, Charlene. So Barbara ma'am is so inspiring. Melissa ma'am is so sweet. Okay, so I would request Barbara ma'am to read out, and she's a fantastic poet, fabulous poet, both of them. I would request Barbara ma'am to read out a poem written by you. Please, ma'am.
Okay, I will read the one that I read on the event that we did. I was abused myself by my therapist. And this poem is called Tainted. So many years ago, when the world was full of bubblegum dreams and ice cream sundaes, when conjecture and wonder were part of my thoughts, I dreamed of being a princess, riding off with my Prince Charming to the proverbial happy ending, replete with formal rosemary dust gown and tiara, astride that white horse, galloping into the sunset. My 14-year-old body like a ripe peach about to burst and burgeon. My life so protected, I was unaware of danger as it approached me, clothed in the guise of a wise friend, coaching and guiding me toward a new understanding, smiling as he slithered across my psyche and manipulated the strands of my innocent thoughts to believe in his reality. That would be okay for me to slash my innocence and succumb to his advances. This trusted friend and helper who would listen to my childish wonderings and use my undeniable teenage longings to creep beneath my armor while applying mesmerism and his faith in my innocent following, ripped away that wonder and replaced it with sodomy, forced upon me, and I tasted of the tree of knowledge, hiding it from loved ones until it burst out one fate-filled day and lay there in the air like the poison it was. In poem.
Hello.
Yes, hi.
Yes, ma'am, you are not audible. Yeah. We can hear you. Yes. Uh, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for this wonderful poem. Your poems
Welcome.
are always wonderful. I love your poems very much. Now, Melissa, ma'am, I would request you to read out one beautiful poem written by you.
Do you love my glasses?
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Makes me look like an intellect. Okay. The title of my poem is Damaged Female Child. At the tender age of 6, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, beautiful child was aggressively persuaded by her considerably older brother to play enjoyable and fun games. She was charmed that her handsome big brother was attentive, since his reputation was well known for his untamed athletic prowess. Slowly and methodically, he sought to gain her fondness and friendship. One day, the directives were removal of her clothes and lacy the little girl cotton panties. Bewildered and hesitant on what to do, for the reason he was unyielding in his request, as she shed tears and was sniffling, he confiscated her clothing and the vulnerable little girl disappeared into the blackness of a protected state. He held her rigidly as he whispered, "This is our special secret. I like you so much and will bring you candy." The swishing of his tongue all around her vagina was not pleasurable, and she was frightened, alarmed, but remained cool to the touch. After two more unpleasurable forced encounters and requests to place her tongue on his thing, which she never did, but caressed his manhood gently with her little agile fingers guided by his manly hands. Before the fourth occurrence, she knew how to avoid the secret connection. She was a little baby bird chased by the sly fox, but became victorious at the practice of avoidance and not participating in the enjoyable and fun games. Soon summer ended and he trotted off to college, and the creepiness came to a halt. The secret pact, as many abuse situation, was never revealed, and the secret was sealed. On gathering with girlfriends, remnants of the story, remnants of their stories were told, but not as her story, because she never revealed. She never mentioned again to avoid inadvertently divulging her secret. She was ashamed of exposing this childhood experience, being raised in a respected family. Please understand this event created an insecure person, or was there more to the insecurity? Actually, ladies, that was my life. My first, I'm like you, Charlene. My first abuse was at 6 years of age, and then, like Barbara, at 15 years of age, I was violently raped by a trusted individual. And how I ever grew up normal and was able to marry a man that I loved so much and that loved me is it's just unbelievable. And when I first had sex with my husband, I cried, I bawled because it was almost like I was being violated. It is PTSD, and I don't give a rat's what about what people say. Trauma to the female psyche is PTSD, and it will always be there. It's just that we learn how to control it, how to suppress it, but it never goes away. And when you do find a man that truly loves you and understands, it is a blessing. And that's why I say that there are many good men out there, and we cannot, bash all men. So, and I relate to both of you ladies, and it should not be anything that anybody encounters as a child, as a teenager, as a young female, as a middle-aged woman, as an elderly woman. It's just wrong. It's evil-like, in my opinion, and it's probably not evil, but it's evil-like.
I don't know what happened to Priyanka, but I will say that I feel the same way, and that we were all lucky to have been able to overcome this. I can't imagine what it was like to be Charlene, but I know that people have to be strong, and you find the strength when you need it. For you, I would say, unfortunately, I know another person who lives in Kentucky who was also abused by her father.
Well, these incidents, neither one happened in Kentucky. One in
This
Utah,
didn't happen in Kentucky. Okay.
one in Illinois, and one in the state of Utah. So,
Okay.
we cannot.
But yeah, it's not just the state; it happens anywhere.
Yes.
Too many women have these stories where they were abused as children, and unfortunately, I know a man who was abused by a friend, an older friend he was playing with. at the same age. Just he was scarred for life.
It is a scar.
He never could be the same person.
And
And I think that these kinds of events actually create artists. I hate to say that. I hate to say that I was created by an awful event, but I think enough of these events in your life, and you need to speak out. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's how the art happens. You have to bring it out of yourself.
Yeah.
Charlene, I'm looking forward to seeing your poem. I don't know what happened to Priyanka.
No, I don't
think-
know what happened to her, bless her. I don't know whether we've gone over time, but this has got a trigger warning to it because it's just called domestic violence. And I just wrote it this afternoon here. Sea of red in his eyes, evil he was possessed, lashed out at slightest things my mind couldn't have processed. Focused on getting by, there's worse off than me. Frightened to go or stay, facing reality. Emotional turmoil hurt more than being hit. Deep, dark thoughts came very close to quit. After years of abuse, refuge was my safe zone. Life takes its twists and turns, raised our children alone. Devastated with life, do not try to silence. Gain back self-confidence. Domestic violence.
Wow,
Yeah, that's powerful.
very
And
powerful and rhymed too. Very
yeah,
yeah.
you know, it is amazing, Charlene, as Barbara stated, that, you know, what you went through as a child and as a wife. I mean, you know, it's bad enough what Barbara and I went through, but they were just incidents, they were occurrences, and they were very traumatic, and they stay with our psyche. But for you to go through just years of abuse, and you know, you're just an amazing human being, and you really are. And you've just got so much love in your heart, so much love in your being. You're just, you know, you're just something else. And I admire you.
Thank you. I think that the more that we go through in life, it makes us who we are. It makes us empathetic to others. We know how it hurts.
Yeah.
And that hurt turns into love. And so we read others' stories in their poetry and can relate to so much. And I have got no regrets in life. I would go through it all again. Why? Because I can be there. I can see that, you know, I suspected from the start that you both had your own stories to tell, and you've inspired me. And never put yourselves down, ladies. Never say, oh my God, yours is worse. There is no such thing. It is what we've dealt with. It's who we are. I got diagnosed just this time last year for the first time in my life with post-traumatic stress disorder. And apparently I have it 3 times over. So, you know, I couldn't believe that that's what, you know, in my mind, it was like, this is what people on the front line fighting are faced with, soldiers. So why are we classed as that? But it absolutely stands to reason. Of course, we're on our guard all the time, and we have to be. You know, it's part of life. I was hoping that I'd come off tablets within 3 months being diagnosed, you know, but now almost a year on, I realise that no, that's not how this works. So, you know, it just like when I first asked my ex-husband to help with paying for my son's uniform so he could go to school. And he turned around and said, that's what you get income support for, and laughed at me. I never once asked him for a penny after that because he wasn't going to hurt me again. He wasn't going to get through. And now I've actually shaken his hand recently and thanked him for making me the person who I am now. And, I mean it. My children, he didn't want to see the children after the age of 7 and 9. So he asked them to go and say to him that they didn't want to see him anymore. So I took them and they did say those words. Now they're both my daughter I'm actually a grandma 4 times over.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you to my daughter's children. So I am absolutely thrilled with that. My son, my older child is a son, and he's married to his job. I'm fine with that. And, they actually seeked each other out, if you like, through Facebook and found each other. And I couldn't be happier because, I tried for years to keep them together as a secure unit. That all fell apart, and the only person that seemed to be upset at the time about it all was myself, because he got remarried. As so often these people cannot live on their own for whatever reason. And so out of the two of us, out of me and my ex-husband, I know absolutely I am the happiest. I had to not have any more children after I had my 2 children. I'm so grateful I had mine at 19 and the age of 21, because I couldn't have had any more after that. However, my ex-husband went on to have 4 more children after, so he's got 6 children altogether. So yes, karma, what comes around goes around. He's no longer married to his second wife. I'm still married to my second husband. It's wonderful to know you two, and I'd love to join you on Facebook, be friends with you.
Oh, definitely. Yes. If we're not connected, definitely yes, on Facebook. And I think, sadly, there are so many stories like yours, but yours is has a happy ending. Sometimes they don't have a happy ending, but Summer Dickinson, do you know Summer?
No.
She has a ministry for women who are abused, and she spends her life going out and making sure that women are protected.
Oh, wow.
She's an amazing woman. You really should get in touch with her. I think she'd love to hear your story too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I think the more people say it in public, the more people will learn about these stories and learn how women can be strong. And at a certain point in your life, you have to say, no, I can't do it.
Yeah.
You have to know what's good for you.
Exactly.
And so many women, young girls that have been abused, they turn to drugs and to alcohol, and they get involved in careers that are, unbecoming to a female. Maybe they become, prostitutes because they have such low self-esteem, and, they're manipulated by, unkind men. And, for anybody to overcome any type of abuse and not succumb to those things, it really is a blessing. And to add on to Barbara, what she stated about us being artists naturally, from abuse background, we're also empaths. We're also very compassionate.
Yes.
And, we feel the pain of other women. We feel the pain of other people. And it's very different than being compassionate. We go beyond the compassion, and we're empaths. And also, I have written a lot of poems about psychic vampires, because psychic vampires are people, and they can be spiritual energy, or they can be human form that, suck the light and positivity out of people, because that is their energy and that is how they live. And these type of people, they're just psychic vampires. And yes, we have to, Charlene, I applaud you. We all have to overlook people and forgive them and move on. And karma does come. And we all have to learn quickly the signs of people, whether it's men or friends or anybody in your community. We have to really watch out and detach from psychic vampires because they're out there. And men are not the only ones that are psychic vampires. So it's really kind of a scary world out there, but I am not going to let it defeat me.
That's
No,
yes.
no, we are strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Solidarity to us. It's
I
been
mean,
an absolute.
something happened in America that I am not happy about. The Supreme Court had this ruling, Roe versus Wade, which was allowing women to get abortions. And now they haven't done it yet, but there's so much talk about it. They are about to overturn this particular ruling, and people are very, very upset about it because it will mean that women will be abused in another way again. They will be abused by not being able to have an abortion if they are raped by an awful person. I mean, this doesn't have any kind of stipulation that if a woman is raped and she's raped by a stranger or by her father or by anyone else, that she can't get an abortion. She has to carry this baby to term. So that means even a little 12-year-old raped by someone has to carry a baby to term. And even a woman who might die from having the baby because they give abortions to women who are in distress. They can't do that anymore if this ruling is overturned. So this is an abuse of women in another way. And it's an abuse by an awful court.
Am I audible now, ma'am?
Yes, now you are.
Yeah, it was due to some technical glitches that I just went out of the show, and Syed is also, he can't enter into the show due to some technical glitches. I heard part of Melissa ma'am's poem. I had Barbara ma'am's poem. Charlene, do you have any poem for us?
I do. Yes, I need to
read hers, but you should read it again because it's so beautiful.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. I just plug myself in. Sorry. Okay. So this comes with a trigger warning, and it's called domestic violence. Sea of red in his eyes, lashed out at slightest things my mind couldn't have possessed. Focused on getting by, there's worse off than me, frightened to go or stay, facing reality. Emotional turmoil hurt more than being hit. Deep, dark thoughts came very close to quit. After years of abuse, refuge was my safe zone. Life takes its twists and turns, raised our children alone. Devastated with life, do not try to silence. Gain back self-confidence, domestic violence. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. It's 10:47 p.m. now in India. So before we part with each other, I would love to read out a poem of my own. So I would ask Barbara ma'am and Melissa ma'am whether I should read out a poem of my own or
Yes.
not.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am. Said also told me to read out a poem. So this is a poem that I had written a few weeks back. The title of my poem is Janani. Janani means mother. So Charlene, I hope that you will be able to connect with my words spontaneously, and we all will do that definitely. So, this is a poem that I have written from the perspective of an infant
Oh,
who is who is realizing the struggle or the fight of its mother and is supporting it and is fighting against the entire cosmos for its mother. So the title of my poem is Janani. Janani is a Sanskrit word. It means mother or ma. I'm audible, ma'am? Okay.
yes.
When a part of the womb bleeds, another part of it shrieks and screams, resisting the fallen cherub to fall more. Janani, boldest promises give birth to a new self. Janani, as she becomes an incarnation of her war, fighting against the terror-stricken world, her infant emerges as the seer, bearing with her burden within. Janani, stifled up voice finds out an outlet through the tiny infant, holding her shrinking fingers and parts of the red torn sari. Words and knives pierce through her heart, burnt up skin and bleeding parts breed a new self, equally vibrant, zealous, and fearless. The infant challenges the cosmos while sucking up the mother's breasts. Janani, her hair merges with the rolling clouds of another space. Unprohibited anarchy can be defied only by intense love, Janani. The mother is not alone anymore in her small dark room of crushed moments. The infant leads her forward. Let the world reject the mother. The child emerging as her part subverts the culture of anarchy furor. Drops of milk fall from God's paradise. Angels chant together with solemn pride, invoking the source of infinite strength and power. Janani, crooked minds, degraded thoughts fail to overpower the blessed bondage of love. Janani, rise up, mother, and protect your soul from the shameless dictator's cunning smile and massacre. Janani, thank you very much.
Wow.
So powerful.
Thank you, ma'am. I have tried to
Beautiful.
connect. I've tried to connect the spiritual, power of a woman, okay, with the real aspect of woman in this poem. And finally, I would love to thank each and everyone, Barbara ma'am, Melissa ma'am, Charlene, for participating in this wonderful discussion, for your words, for your introspective discussions, for your visions, views, perspectives that you have shared with us. I really feel empowered after this show. And while posting these on Facebook, I will definitely try to convey your messages, your words to all those, friends of mine who belong to different parts of the world, as well as to each and every one, to men, women, children, adolescent people, everybody. So I hope that we will meet again and we will think and rethink about these issues. We will write poems about these issues. We will write articles on this issue, and we will not stop raising our voices against this issue unless and until we make this society absolutely safe for each and every girl child and for each and every woman. None should think that we are voiceless, powerless, and we are silent. We are silent because we are powerful. We are silent not because we are weak. So this is our message to the entire world, and women should not remain silent anymore. Women will raise their voices through poems, through articles, through slogans, and as Melissa ma'am said, that more and more women should be, working in courts, in hospitals, in army, and thus we can definitely resist this politics of gender inequality and this politics of categorization in a concrete way. But we must also focus on the spiritual aspect of women empowerment issue. Women right from the beginning of their lives are taught to be women, but no, we are souls, so we should think ourselves as souls and not as women. Okay, so this is our message to the world. And thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Melissa ma'am, again. Thank you, Charlene. Thank you, Barbara ma'am. Good night. Bye bye. Thank you, Syed, who organized this wonderful event. Hope we will meet again very soon with stronger voices and with more powerful agenda, and that will be absolutely a feminine agenda. Okay, so bye bye, ma'am. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Nice
We
to
will
meet
have
you.
our
Bye.
show on the 30th.
Yeah,
Melissa
thank
and
you,
Mike
ma'am.
on discrimination. So we hope that you will join us.